I'm Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games. The tea today is Builders. It's starting to get just a tiny bit cold because I had poured this a little while ago. In my previous video, I talked about unplayed games. And today I wanted to talk about two unplayed games that got played, one of which I didn't mention in that video because by the time that video was recorded, we had already played it. Actually, we had already played it multiple times. But first, I will talk about the one that I mentioned in the Unplayed Games video, one of the many I mentioned in the Unplayed Games video, and that is Century: A New World. We like Century Spice Road, and earlier this year, as some of y'all know, we played Century Eastern Wonders for the first time, and we really liked that. I mean, a lot. We liked it more than Spice Road. And I noticed that it was kind of getting hard to find this version. I mean, there is the Gollum edition, I think it's called, the other edition of this, which plays the same, and so I'm thinking maybe they're going to phase this out because it's just like a little bit hard to find. So I decided to go ahead and get the third game in the series in this edition so that we would have it. And we got it to the table this past weekend. It was maybe just a tiny bit disappointing. We loved Spice Road. We loved Eastern Wonders even more. This was a tiny bit of a letdown. Robert and I both thought that the gameplay was a little bit fiddly. Now, mind you, this is based upon one play. And no doubt there will be somewhat less of a fiddle factor with future plays because we will already be familiar with the flow of the game. But having said that, the game didn't really have a good flow sort of feel. You know how there's some games that are just so smooth they almost play themselves. It's just like you're hardly aware of the game mechanics. They're so smooth. This is not that game. It does have a lot of components in terms of gameplay that are similar to both Spice Road and Eastern Wonders. And the box does include sheets that show you how to integrate this with Spice Road and Eastern Wonders and all three together. And I think some of the components that I sorted out that weren't used are part of that whole, and you use these for if you're combining games. But it does have some different elements. And that is in terms of the way you get points. Let's talk about the oddly named bonus tiles. And I say oddly named bonus tiles because they're not really what I would consider bonuses in terms of the game scoring. I would consider them to be, in some ways, much more like objective cards. There are some bonus tiles where it's like the tile just says 3, and like you get points. But most of the bonus tiles have something on them that you need to do in order to get the bonuses at the terms of the end. And this is going to form a substantial amount of your final scoring. So I'm kind of like thinking, this is a bonus? Really? The other way you get points are point cards, like in Century Spice Road and Eastern Wonders. You pay the correct combination of cubes that the card requires, and you get the card. You have to go to the spot where the card is, and you get the card. But I noticed the point values on these cards, at least the ones that we saw, were noticeably lower than in earlier versions of the game. Because, of course, these are not the only way you're getting points. You're picking up points from the bonus tiles, the oddly named bonus tiles. And so there's two different point streams there. And the bonus tiles, I think, are the ones that you get the most points out of. But you can only get 3 bonus tiles. And then the bonus tiles have icons on them. So you need to like collect the icons or the sets of icons from the cards that you're getting in order to make those bonus tiles, which you can only have 3 of in the entire game, pay off when you get to the end of the game scoring. So, I mean, it's worker placement, and the bonuses aren't really bonuses. And this is the part that really hurts, and the part that we did not like at all. You can't use most of the board to make those cube trades and to upgrade the cubes. You get to better cubes to get the cubes that you need and to get more cubes to do the stuff. Yeah, all of those cards, like in Spice Roads and Eastern Wonders, all those spots where you would go in order to do that whole spice trading and exchange sort of thing in order to get the things that you need for the point cards. Yeah, most of those spots are going to be closed to you in this game. They're there. You're going to lay out a modular board of 4 boards, and those spots are going to be, you're going to have a whole lot of spots there, but a lot of them, almost half, you won't be able to use because those are the new world that you are going to be exploring. Yeah, that really did not work out well. The exploration tiles, you have little exploration tiles that have icons and bonuses on them, and those are laid upon certain parts of the lower part of the game board thing. So you cannot place workers in those areas that have an exploration tile unless you have, prior to that, like right immediately prior to that, claimed a points card, which has as its bonus, because there are little bonuses on the points cards, they have the icons that you need to make the bonus tiles work, unless you claim one that has the exploration tile as its bonus. And then you get to go down there and decide which one of those spots and which one of those bonus tiles, because those exploration tiles, they themselves have icons and special abilities on them, which one you want to pick up and open up that spot. So, oh yes, and you need 8 point cards to trigger game end, which is less. That's in a 2-player game. That's less than, actually that's in, now that I think about it, in this one, there isn't a difference between player count for how many point cards you need to trigger game end. It's just 8. And they're lower points, but you need 8 cards to trigger that. So you think, well, okay, 8 cards, you get them. They have those little exploration tiles as their bonuses, and you open up those other areas of the boards, and then you can get more cubes and make more trades, and the game works so much better if you can use the whole board. We can't use the whole board. Maybe this is a defect of a 2-player game, and I mean, most of these things, they have compensation for 2-player games. And this does have some things like you don't lay things on certain things because it's 2-player, and you don't do this because you leave out these cards for 2-player games. So it does make something, but getting those cards that allow you to take exploration tiles and thereby open up new slots in that lower half of the board, you got to cycle through those cards. In our game, Robert and I both ended up with 8 cards. Well, I think he got his 8th after I triggered game end. So that was like 16 cards, plus the ones that were laid out there in the fort spots at the top of the board that we didn't take before game end. I mean, like, well, we took the last card, yeah. But still, there's a few more up there that were taken. So that's over 16 cards. We opened up a grand total of 3 of the exploration areas. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of our going up there and getting point tiles was just a desperate attempt to somehow or other open up more areas of the board that we could actually use to get those point tiles, and getting those point cards and getting the bonus tile stuff. It was a bit of a grind, considering that there was so much of the board that had areas where you could get cubes and trade cubes and upgrade cubes that simply was not accessible. So yeah, that was just not good. Now, admittedly, it is the luck of the draw with those point cards, because I'm sure that at some point we may play a game of this that just the way the cards end up shuffled, we're going to lay out those things, and those exploration tiles are going to be like, there's going to be a crazy lot of them coming up on point cards that will allow us to open up the rest of the board. But maybe not. I mean, it really is whether or not those the point cards that have the exploration tiles as their bonus come up when you draw them out. And you're just not going to cycle through those cards nearly so fast with two players. So I feel like that this game has a lot of potential at a higher player count, but it was just really kind of fiddly and frustrating because there was so much stuff we could not do, or that was extremely difficult and convoluted to do to get the cubes that we want. And we are experienced at playing Century Spice Road and Century Eastern Wonders, so it's not as if we are completely unfamiliar with this whole game cube trading system. We're pretty familiar with it, but the big difference here is that you pick up bonus tiles when you go to certain slots, and you can only have 3 bonus tiles, and those bonus tiles have things that you need to fulfill in order to be able to score them at the end of the game. And a lot of the board is going to be closed off until you get point cards that allow you to pick up one of those exploration tiles. And I mean, the exploration tiles are useful in themselves because they've got icons and bonuses of their own on them that can help you fulfill the bonuses. I think this was meant to be a more complex version of the 2 previous games. I think they were basically going for more complexity. But the do this to do that, and then you got to do this to get those points there, and you put that there to get these points, but then that doesn't work unless you've also got this kind of thing. Just, I don't know, it kind of felt vaguely annoying. It definitely didn't feel like the smooth sort of feel good, do this to get that kind of thing that you have going on in the 2 previous games in this series. We need to play it again. And my opinion on this may change after we've played it again. But the problem with this is, after we played it the first time, Robert and I looked at each other and we're going like, yeah, should I pack it away or do you want to play it again? And he's going like, yeah, no, pack it away. And I'm going like, yeah, exactly. I don't want to play this back to back. I don't even want to play it again that weekend. This thing, now that I've held it up to the camera for you to see, it's going back on the shelf for a while. And we'll make another run at it. We definitely will play it again. And it's possible after we get a few more plays under our belt that it will feel smoother. And we may get that whole card line up where we're able to open up a bunch of those exploration areas at the end of at the bottom of the board. That may happen. But I still think that this game may have a problem at lower player counts because having those lower spaces, those exploration tile spaces opened up is totally dependent upon those cards coming out across the top and you being able to get those cards to get more cards out that have exploration bonuses. So I still think that that could be a significant problem at 2 players because in our first game it certainly was. So that can really happen. So I did the one we were not crazy about first. The other new to us game, a couple of weeks ago, we went to Half Price Books, and I always look at their games because sometimes I find a really good deal. And this game was $15. This is the 10th anniversary edition of Notre Dame. And what makes this different from regular Notre Dame is that it has extra cards. It has like 2 sets of new person cards, basically. It has all the new person cards that you can use for the A, B, and C decks. First time play, we didn't use those because we kind of like to always get a base game play before we start adding things in, understand how it's supposed to work before we mess with it. But $15. A Stefan Feld Classic, 10th anniversary edition for $15. You betcha I picked that up. Absolutely. So, yeah, and we got it on the table that weekend for that first play, and we instantly liked it. We thought this was so good. One of the things I like about it, and I will put some pictures of the boards up here, is that for a two-player game, you get a full board. I mean, it has different insets in the center so that the number of, it plays up to 5, so that the number of player sections that the player will be placing things onto for the worker placement, you can have up to 5. And there'll be a different centerpiece that will allow you to put those 5 up there. But the 4-player layout is what you use for a 2-player game, because one of the actions you do is to send your little carriage out to pick up messages at various marketplaces all over the board. And you need to get a full set of the colors that are available before you can start picking up the same color again. And of course, there's going to be like your colors in your region. So that keeps you from just snaffling up all of the close ones. And those messages have points on them. And sometimes they also have extra stuff like reducing your rat population, because there is this kind of plague thing going on and you have a rat track. You need to not let your rats get all the way up to the top of the rat track. And for anybody who is rodent phobic, I mean, rodents are not that great to begin with, unless they're cute little cartoon rodents, but there's no actual rats in this game. It's all cubes. This is a cube game. Well, it's not all cubes. You have a special friend that you can use for certain actions. And your actions are determined by cards. You draft cards, passing them around, and there's a back and forth pass with 2 players. Everybody has their own deck of cards that has their own color. And I thought that was kind of neat. And when you pass the cards around, you may actually end up playing cards that are not your color. It's one of your opponent's cards that they pass to you because they intended not to use that card. So, yeah, and you end up after the draft with 3 cards in hand, but you're only going to do 2 of the 3 actions. So even sometimes you're drafting the cards, you're going like, oh yeah, I want to do that. And yeah, I definitely want to do that. And then you get past the card and you think, okay, yeah, I think I'm going to keep that one just in case I change my mind about what I want to do and I don't get this card back. So there is a little, even with 2 persons, I found the drafting kind of interesting. That kind of, what is he going to keep? What am I going to keep? I may change my mind about what I want to do. Is he going to keep the Notre Dame card? If he doesn't keep it, if I get that back, yeah, maybe I should play that instead of this one. Because you will get, Notre Dame is one of the places where you can get some serious points in this game. And that is the center piece there for whichever player count you have. But the other sections you have, you can go for a carriage ride. You can just get points. You can get money. There's one square that has a choose an action kind of thing where you can get a coin, you can get a cube, which is, you only start with 4 influence cubes. The rest go into a general supply that you can then get more influence cubes for if you choose the space on your board where you can pick up another influence cube, which is really kind of nifty. You put a cube down to get another cube. So it's like zero sum. But there's one that allows you to, oh yes, there's the hospital, which allows you to not only reduce your rat population immediately, but also subtract the number of cubes you've got on there from the total rat population that you get at the end of the round, which varies. We've had some very low rat rounds and we've had some very high rat rounds. And there's also the park, which allows immediate rat reduction, and you can get more rats reduced if you have more cubes on it. And this is one of the nifty things about this game. It's worker placement, right? You're putting your little workers out in order to get stuff or do stuff. yeah, those workers don't come back to you at the end of the turn or even at the end of the round. The cube placed on Notre Dame is the only one that is removed, and it is removed, I believe, at the end of like the 3-turn round, and it goes back to the general supply. But I mean, you can get the cubes out of the general supply by taking that action on your board. And you're going like, you spend the cube to get the cube. I don't see any benefit. Like, it's not like you're getting more cubes. But you are. That's that nifty thing I mentioned. The cubes don't come back. They act as additives, multipliers in some cases. You leave the cubes there, and then on the next round, you put more cubes there and you get more stuff back. And then on the next round, you put more cubes there and you get more stuff back. Now, there is a limit. There's not like an infinite number of influence cubes in this game. At some point, you're going to look at that general supply and go like, I got no more cubes I can possibly get, even if I put a marker down on my cube thing. But you can still take actions. I mean, you can opt to not take an action, but I'm not really sure what the benefit of that would be. But you can then start moving cubes from one sector to another. And there are cards at the end of the game. If you pay a coin, then you can hire someone who will give you a benefit, like moving a cube to another sector. Like you put a cube here and you got a coin or another cube, or you got some other benefit. You took your carriage for a much longer ride to pick out one of those far-flung high point value messages. So yeah, but then you hire the person at the end of the game, and that person allows you to move your cube to another sector and probably not activate. There are some in the new person that allows you to move stuff and activate, but you're like, well, sometimes you move and activate, and sometimes you move and don't activate. But if you moved it to the hospital, then that will still reduce your rat population, because those special people that you hire, they come with rats. Yeah, that's how you get the rats. On the bottom of those cards, they have varying values of little rats on the bottom of the cards. So that's how you determine how many rats you go up on the rat track. But you subtract the number of cubes that you have in the hospital. And some of the people you hire says, okay, you take no rats this turn. So you can put a coin there and take no rats. And your rat population doesn't go up. And some of them, you can do it and reduce your rat population, or get a coin, or get points for certain things, like points for empty sectors, points for sectors that have a certain number of cubes on them. So yeah, there's all kinds of nifty ways that you can get points. And the second and third games that we played of this, we used the new person's decks that were in the 10th anniversary edition, and oh yeah, we're never going to take those out of the deck. Those will be shuffled in for every single game of this that we ever play, because those cards are good. They have a lot of special stuff on them that is good stuff. And I mean, sometimes when you have like little mini expansions and they put things in there, you're like looking at them and going like, okay, makes the game a little bit different, or okay, keeps the game the same, only, yeah, these cards actually make it harder. But not the new persons. These new persons are super helpful. It's like, yeah, don't hesitate to put those things in. As I understand it, there were 2 sets of new persons cards, and they're both included in the 10th anniversary edition. They've got really good actions, and they are kind of graded, I guess you might say. Like, there's some of these actions that are definitely things that are better toward the end of the game, or not as good because you're like at the end of the game, because it's like at the end of the game you're less likely to have these things. But if you had put that card like at the beginning of the game, man, everybody would have just mopped up and it would have been super easy. So they do seem to be kind of graded for like beginning game, giving you good stuff, giving you a good leg up, and then mid game, and then gets a little bit tougher in those last games, but at the same time has some kind of sweet in-game kind of bonuses. Because I'm going to put one of these pictures up there. You're going to notice that there's quite a clump of green cubes on certain sectors. And that's on one sector in particular, the point sector. And that's because the third game, Robert won. I won the first two, but the third game, Robert won. And it's like at a certain point, I realized I had not been paying attention to gaining points. I was doing stuff and I was trying to get a leg up, but it just wasn't quite happening for me. And I just really needed to push for points. So this card came up. It was one of the new person cards where you can move all the cubes from one sector, and I had built up quite a lot in one sector, move them all to another sector and activate. Because there is a card in the base game where you can move like a large number of cubes from one sector to from all the cubes from one sector to another sector, but you don't get to activate. But this one was like, yeah, and activate. And so I'm like looking at that and I'm going like, oh, yes, please. And so it was the last turn of the game and I just moved all my cubes. And I moved them to the point sector, but it still wasn't enough points. But it did make the final score a bit less horrible. So it was worth a shot. So yeah, we just really enjoy this. The flow of the game is so very, very good. But I mean, this is a Stefan Feld design. It's not like this is a designer who doesn't know what he's doing. And I mean, it is one of his earlier designs. So clearly he knew what he was doing even in his earlier games. But yeah, there's kind of like you have 3 turns in a round. And the round counters are basically the A, B, and C deck cards, because you'll have like 3 A cards, 3 B cards, and 3 C cards. And I just put them all in a stack rather than laying them out. And so when you get to the end of the A, then you do that kind of end of round cleanup kind of thing. And then you go on to the B deck of cards. And there are certain base game cards and certain standard cards, the brown cards, that come up like over and over again, that are always going to be, you're always going to be cycling through that small deck. So there's going to be certain types of actions with the people that you can hire at the end of a turn to do special actions. There's going to be some that are always going to be available, not like every turn, but you're going to be cycling through those cards, so that there are certain sort of standard actions that are always going to be available throughout the game. So it's not like you're depending upon these crazy good cards from the new person deck. You're only going to get one of those special cards each turn, whether they are the special cards that came with, that's the gray deck, the A, B, and C deck, whether it's those that came with the base game or the new person cards, which are shuffled into the A, B, and C decks. You're only going to get one of those in each turn, and you will get 2 of the regular, I guess you might say, people to hire. And you don't have to hire anybody. If you'd rather hang on to your coins because you want to like pay for Notre Dame, because if you go to the Notre Dame square, you got to have coins. You got to be able to pay something, and then you get points. But still, you do have to pay if you use the Notre Dame thing. That's the only thing that I think coins are used for, is the Notre Dame sector and hiring people at the end of the game. So this isn't all about acquiring money. It's all about acquiring influence. And influence is represented by your cubes and that special old friend thing that you can put down. So this is, and also the 10th anniversary edition has some bonus cards for Castles of Burgundy, which, depending upon which version of Castles of Burgundy you have, you might already have them. I haven't checked to see if that's in my version of Castles of Burgundy yet, because we've also just gotten that recently and only played it at Pelican. We haven't actually gotten it onto this table. So technically not an unplayed game, just not unplayed on this table. But I highly recommend that if you've got a shot at getting Notre Dame, and particularly the 10th anniversary edition that has the new person cards, snap that thing up, because this is just such a good game. And people characterize this as a beige Euro. I've seen it characterized that way, and I'm not sure I actually agree with that. It does have like an old parchment colored, like kind of this color map, but it's got those little pops of color for where the sectors are, and it's kind of pleasant to look at. You got the whole gray map, but you've got like these little colored section areas, and you got the little pops of color on the marketplaces where you place the message dials. So in this case, I think that whole beige thing sort of serves to set off those little illuminated spots of color on it. The beigeness of it, I would not consider troublesome, particularly considering how very, very good the game is. But the Euro thing, yeah, you're placing cubes out. Even the rats are cubes. It's very cubey. But at the same time, when people say Euro game, you generally kind of think of something that's sort of heavy and headachy. You know what I mean. People don't tend to use the word Euro in the same sentence with family weight. But I think it would depend upon your family. Okay, first I will say, this is not a gateway game. Do not drop this upon the friend of yours who has never played a modern board game. Don't do that. This is not gateway. But I'm not sure I would say that this is not family weight, because if you have a family that is familiar with the mechanics of modern board games, card drafting and worker placement, and I don't know, I kind of think that if your family plays, say, mid-weight games, particularly worker placement games where you're maybe doing a little bit of card drafting in order to figure out where to place your workers or to get extra stuff, I think that a lot of families that this game would just fit right in and be like good family fun. It would depend upon your family. So that is something you need to watch some videos about how to play the game and see if it sounds like something that your family would like. Because also, I mean, while I think that there are a lot of families out there that could certainly play this game, it would not be too heavy or just too grindy for them. Because let's face it, there's a lot of Euros out there that are grindy. This is not grindy. And it's got a really smooth game flow. But it might not be something that any family would necessarily like. It doesn't have a fun, kicky theme. You're like going around doing things to influence people in plague-ridden Paris. You're wandering around Paris during the plague times. So it's like, but I actually don't feel like this theme is terribly theme heavy, you know? You're basically just placing your workers to get points or coins or influence or to move around and get some kind of bonus tile. These bonus tiles really are bonuses. Although, you know, Robert got so many of them in that last game that, you know, it was almost not like a bonus. Like that was like a really big point value stream for him. It's like that was a large amount of his points. He just snaffled up all those carriage cards. So anyhow, I wouldn't discount this if your family plays mid-weight games and they like worker placement. But do your research on it, because it might not actually be something they like. If your family likes fun themes and lots of bright colors, they might take one look at it and go, yeah, before they even got into the point where they liked it. But it's good. It's so very, very good. And I am so glad I stumbled onto this. And this game is going to come in, is one of those that's in our collection, like under the most bang for buck. We paid $16 for Zapotec, and after we played it, we thought, oh, we so love this game. It is worth every penny. We are going to get way, way, way more than our money's worth of plays out of it. And Notre Dame 10th Anniversary Edition, $15. Oh, yes, we are going to get way, way, way more than our money's value out of playing this. But I think it would be worth it at a higher price point. It is so good. Justifiably considered a classic. And here it looks like I have run over a half an hour. I probably spent too much time talking about a game that I was less thrilled with, but I hope I made up for it by telling you just how very, very, very good Notre Dame is. A Stefan Feld Classic, and especially the 10th Anniversary Edition with the new person cards, all the new person cards. And having played it with the new person cards, yeah, I'm not sure I would even recommend playing it for the first time without those cards because they're very good. I mean, you might want to do one play just to get kind of oriented with the icons because the iconography is going to be kind of similar. But the booklet tells you what all the special people do. It is so very, very good, and it is easy to learn. Yeah, that's a big point. Easy to learn. It does have some very thinky decisions in it, and goodness knows I made some bad choices. Yeah, I am the queen of bad choices in this game, and sometimes I can make those bad choices turn out okay, and sometimes I just can't. Well, I'm going to sign off here. I need to hot up my tea because my voice is going for some reason. I need something warm. But I will see y'all next time around the table. Bye.